did the pandemic change cloud adoption, do you think?
Undoubtedly, yes. For some organizations were probably already on the road to some form of cloud adoption. Others were probably in the plans of doing it. I think it did show a change of behavior for some organizations whose teams thought maybe things weren't possible to do in the cloud. No, you'll never do that. And by the very nature of necessity, they had to do it. It certainly changed attitudes towards that. I think it also had a bit of a negative effect in that some companies rushed into it without fully understanding the complexity and cost of implementing full cloud workflows in terms of DevOps, system integration, and obviously on sort of the cost of egress, etc. And also as we all opened up our networks so that people could access our content from on-prem and the cloud, then there are obviously been some rather large security issues happened around that. And that's certainly not cloud specific. You know, a lot of organizations had security issues on-prem, large broadcasters being held by ransomware idiots who, you know, because they opened up their networks, they're usually closed networks in the media area to enable people to access content from home. And then that caused breaches. So I think the pandemic highlighted that many organizations aren't ready to open up their networks yet, and have been don't have the appropriate technology to have immutable content, have audit and governance around their data. And for those who went into cloud, some of them maybe found that it's not the ideal scenario that it could have been. On the flip side, it has also been very beneficial for many people. And as we've experienced from our customer base taking up Matrix Store Cloud, that the need not to deploy something on-prem, the need to have a solution that is just there for you to use and be supported by a company has been very beneficial. Stefan, what have you seen specifically, I guess, in the regions you work in? And you only do a lot of work in the North America, which is definitely a more sort of cloud innovative space, I would say, versus what you're doing in Europe. Did you see a big difference between the two regions in terms of adoption the last 2 years?
Yeah, definitely. So talking about North America, people there are much more open to the cloud in general, and to adapt services and try out things, but also change things much faster than people do in Europe. Also, the customer base is different, that we have a lot of public broadcasters and public companies in Europe which are bound to tender processes and so on. So there is no really fast adaptation of cloud possible. So even when the pandemic started and people saw, yeah, it would be great to be in the cloud now because then we could change and be bigger and hire more servers, yeah, they just can't because of regulation and rules. And I think that's a very important component when people talk about cloud is a customer ready to go into the cloud from all aspects, not from the IT department is one thing, but is it really a company decision to go there? And we see this as, yeah, the major, let's say, blocking item when someone is going to the cloud or not. Is it a company decision or not? That's basically the question. And the pandemic influenced this discussion. Yeah, of course, but I think in Europe it still needs some time that the adoption of cloud really goes to the roof.
Yeah, no, I definitely concur with that. I hadn't really pondered the whole RFP tender process that we do get encumbered with quite a bit in this side of the pond. It does slow innovation in some ways, that process, and typically, if we're being completely frank and honest with each other, sometimes those RFPs, shock horror, are written for a particular technology and therefore sometimes there isn't really a choice in what you can do from that. So yeah, interesting. And I think that's where, and I know, having sort of listened to a few podcasts around this recently, the big three sort of cloud providers are actively looking at what impact local governmental regulations have in each territory to impact their global services. And much like you, we have customers whose sovereignty says the data has to be in a certain place. Now, whether that's in France, in the UK, or whatever, that makes a big difference to the guarantees of what you can offer in the cloud, I think.
Yeah, definitely. But beside the world of our products, the pandemic really, made much more use of the cloud. So I don't travel anymore because company restrictions don't allow it, but I'm still able to work. So there is definitely some advantage.
No, indeed. Yeah, definitely.